Welcome to the Dreamcatcher Podcast, a place where your dreams can find a voice. We're all born with individual rhythms that go beyond the influence of our genes and upbringing. The 5 elements is one of the systems that we can use to understand those rhythms. The system originated in ancient Chinese medicine 2,000 years ago, when scholars theorized that the universe is composed of 5 forces: fire, water, earth, wood, and metal. Our guest Dondi Dahlin will help us understand the 5 elements better and how we can use it to transform ourselves. Dondi Dahlin is an award-winning public speaker and has been seen on Hay House, Shift Network, Omega Institute, Mindvalley, and ACEP. She's also a popular teacher spreading Eden energy medicine and the 5 elements through international workshops. She co-authored the Little Book of Energy Medicine, and her book, The 5 Elements, became a bestseller when it was released in 2016. Dondi is also an internationally acclaimed dancer, actress, and teacher in television, film, and stage for over 30 years. In this interview, Dondi will explain the personality types represented by the 5 elements of water, wood, fire, earth, and metal, and how we can use them to stay in balance on all levels. She'll also talk about how we can use it to improve our relationships with others. If you like what you heard, please don't forget to like, rate, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Thanks. Hi, Dondi. How are you doing today?
I am very, very good. How are you doing?
I am very well, thank you. It was a pleasure meeting you at Mindvalley University last July. How has life been since then?
Life has been good. That was an amazing trip to Estonia. We met each other there with hundreds of other people, and the year turned out great. And now we're in a new time and it's going really good. I'm in California and the sun is shining. Wish I had a little bit more rain, but that's okay. I'll take the sun.
Yeah, you don't get a lot of rain out there. I do remember that because I used to live in LA. So yeah, but that's beautiful weather though.
It is. It is. I think it's the number one reason they say that people move to our area is for the weather.
Yeah, despite the earthquakes, the forest fires, and everything else.
Yes.
Well, I also enjoyed your workshop on the 5 elements that you did at Mindvalley University. I benefited a lot from learning about my own element, which is wood. And well, that's my primary element. My secondary, I'm still debating whether it's water or metal, but I think I might get some clarity after speaking with you today. I knew that I had to have you on the show after doing the workshop to give all of us an overview of the system. So thank you so much for making the time to be here with us.
Well, you are so welcome. I'm very honored to be on your show. I love your show. I love the guests that you have had in the past. I've been watching the different episodes. So thank you so much. I'm honored.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that, Dondi. All right, so let's start talking about your background. You actually grew up in the world of energy medicine. Your mom is Donna Eden, who is a pioneer in the field. So what was it like growing up in that environment and having a mom who is this world-renowned healer?
Yeah, thank you for asking me about that. So when I was growing up, it was normal because that's what I was in. In fact, the other day I met a woman who was raised with 5 older brothers. And I said, what was it like to grow up with 5 older brothers? And she said, well, for me, it was normal. It's all I knew until she got older. And then she realized it wasn't so normal. It wasn't like other people's upbringings. And that is exactly how it was for me. I got a little bit older into college and met other people, and their upbringings weren't the same. So mine was a very natural upbringing. We never took pills. We usually didn't go to a doctor because our mom, my sister and I, our mom was a renowned healer. So she taught us how to heal with our hands. If we had a stomach ache, we'd use our hands to heal it. If we had a headache, we'd use our hands to heal it. And what I realized as I grew up is that that was incredibly empowering. And I could see why my mom wanted to teach this to the entire world, because it is absolutely amazing and a whole new lease on life when you realize, wow, I have healing power in my hands and I can do things for myself that will keep myself healthy physically, emotionally, mentally. So I love how I was raised. And I wish that other people could have natural upbringings as well. The only hard part, though, I have to say, there was a hard part. My mom started becoming well-known probably in the 1980s. So in the 1980s, I was a preteen and a teenager, and people were flocking to our little house in Southern Oregon and coming to our doorstep and knocking on the door at all hours of the night because they heard my mom could heal them. And back then she was healing people. Now she has closed her private practice, but she's alive and well and teaching still. That was hard, though. I didn't understand why, and my sister didn't either, why they wouldn't just let us have our private time with our mom. And we'd wake up and some people would be sitting right on our front porch because they had heard she could heal them. Yeah. So that was weird. And I knew that was weird because my friends weren't getting that type of thing where people would just show up at their house.
Yeah.
But
So your mom was like a local celebrity, huh?
Yeah, local celebrity. And she was also already building a name for herself in Europe. So it was interesting. The country of Germany and a few other countries in Europe turned on to natural healing sort of long before the United States did. They were quicker, especially in Germany, to turn on to homeopathic medicine. And many places in Europe and the Middle East, as you know, used herbs. And in the USA, that was still kind of weird. So my mom was building this name for herself in Europe, and people would actually fly over from Europe to see if they would heal her. So that's
And
how
your mom is such a beautiful soul. I actually had the chance to see her at Mindvalley University, and she's just full of light and love. So I'm sure she was like, come on in, come on in.
Yes, she was. And
yeah,
stay with us and eat our food. And yes, my
and
mom
you were like this little kid, like, what are these people doing here?
True.
I can just imagine.
It's true. It's true. My mom loves people, and my mom is an earth.
Is she an earth?
Fire.
What is her element?
Earth and fire are her elements, and both earths and fires. And we'll talk about this more as this session goes on. But for everybody, just to get a hint, both earths and fires love people. They are the two elements that really, truly love people. And that's my mom.
Yeah. You can definitely sense that when you're around her. Yeah.
Yes.
Let's start talking about each element in terms of personality type. You already told us a little bit about earth and fire. So let's talk about the others. That's fire, water, earth, wood, and metal. Give us a quick overview of each element, and it would really help if you could also give a couple of examples of people in the news or celebrities who are very strong, who have a very strong specific element.
Yes, sure, I will. I'll touch on each one, and this is such a tip of the iceberg. Some people
you gotta get the book if you want to know which one in detail.
And I will mention some celebrities. So I like to start with water, and the water type of person is a very deep person. They really like to endeavor in things that are meaningful in life. So this isn't your kind of flighty, let's have fun, let's just enjoy life, and girls just want to have fun type of person. That is not water. Waters are a little bit more serious. They like to have deep conversations, and they feel emotions deeply. and they're usually quite intuitive. At first sight, and when you first know a water, they usually appear a little bit more introverted and a little bit more quiet. It's because they are deep thinkers, so they're ruminating on everything you're saying and everything that's going on in the conversation. Woods are sort of the opposite. Woods are very much out there. They are more direct, they're more opinionated, they are going to say what's on their mind, and they're probably going to be quite vocal. So woods have a lot of confidence, but it's not just confidence like, hey, I'm so pretty, or I'm so great, or I'm so successful. It's also, I firmly believe in what I'm saying. I have strong values, I have strong beliefs, and I am not afraid to voice them because life is too short not to. Woods also aren't afraid of conflict, where going back to waters, they can get a little bit fearful. Are they going to step on someone's toes? Is somebody not going to like them? Are they going to offend someone? Woods don't really care. They're here to be themselves. If someone doesn't like it, that's okay, they're moving on. So we have water, we have wood, and then fire. Fires are very recognizable because of the joy they exude. We talked about my mom, Donna Eden. It's one of the first things people recognize about her. She's always smiling. She's always feeling positive. People ask me, is your mom really that happy? And I say, yes, she's really that happy. It really is real. Part of it is her fire element, and then other things that play and have played into her life. But fires love people, they love pleasure, and they notice things that make them happy. So whereas a wood will see in the world what is wrong with the world and how to fix it, fires notice everything wonderful. They notice the good stuff. They don't often see the bad stuff. They're very vocal as well, but in a different way than a wood. They're sort of sing-songy and come to dinner with me and let's get together.
I can imagine a conversation between a wood person and a fire person. They would just not see eye to eye on so many things.
Yeah. Right. That's true. And where woods are fine being alone, so are waters, but for a different reason. Waters sort of like to cocoon into themselves and into their homes. Woods just like being alone, like they like going to a restaurant alone, going to a movie alone, having dinner alone. Fires, no, they want to be with people. They love the social life. And when I have seen my fire friends be alone, let's talk about when the pandemic came through in a very strong way. They were the ones who struggled the most. I saw the fires really withering because they needed that contact. The fires, and both the fires and the earths, and I'll talk about earths now. Earths also really love to have that support system. They want and they need that structure to help them feel buoyed up in life and cushioned. And they're going to do that for other people as well. Earths are very much about service to others. They help people, and that is what they see in life. They see where people are struggling, where people need help. Where is the gap? How can I step in? How can I be of service to somebody? How can I make someone's life better? Going back to woods, not to say that woods are so arrogant and self-centered. They aren't. They're just more on a mission that is about their goals and what they're going to accomplish in life. Earths are on a mission to help others. That really is their mission in life, and their hearts jump out of their chest. They are very compassionate people. Compassionate is one of their main tenets. And then we have metals, and metals are the fifth element. And oftentimes I'll talk about, or I'll say, the fifth element in a wheel, because when you see the five elements in a book or on the internet, you'll see it in a wheel, and the metal element will be last. Metal elements are interesting, and they often get a bad rap because they don't want the social life. They aren't going to say yes to the parties. They aren't going to say yes to the get-togethers at work. They like to be one-on-one with people. One time, this always reminds me of this story because it's such a strong metal story where we had a woman in our life. She's still in our life. She's still a friend of the family, but she's a woman who is very, very strong metal. And one day she said to my mom, in our friendship, I really need to be alone with you one-on-one. I want to take a walk on the beach every day for about an hour. I want that time. I want that quality. And if you aren't willing to spend that alone time with me, then I'll probably seek out other friends. It sounds mean, but it wasn't mean. Metals have very strong boundaries, and they know what they need in their relationships. And that's what they need. It's often one-on-one. There will be a very strong metal couple, and you'll think, wow, that couple doesn't really hang out with other people. That couple sort of goes off alone. That's kind of what metals do. So you can see that
Is
when
that
you
because they like depth? Are they searching for that depth in every connection?
They do like the depth, and they really want to focus and concentrate just on that parallel with one person. The other voices, the other people, the other things happening are very distracting to them. And they'll often say that. You'll hear a metal say, ugh, there was just too much noise. And I'll be like, what noise? There were just like 3 people there. But there was too much noise. There was too much going on. There was too much distraction. They really love the silence, and they like to hone down and focus in their relationship. Yeah, so it builds compassion. Knowing about the 5 elements helps you really build compassion. And I think that's one of the misnomers, that you'll learn a personality type system like the 5 elements, and it will box you into a category, or it will just make you label everybody, but not true. I feel that when people don't know about the 5 elements, they become more narrow-minded and with more tunnel vision, because they don't realize, wow, there is a metal element that some people are just born into. It's their vibration. It's not an excuse. It's how they were born. There are some people that were just born into the wood element. It sort of is their container for life. So I can have compassion knowing that this wood element person is a little bit more urgent. They're a little bit more assertive. I might feel like, wow, they're coming at me. They're kind of aggressive. That's what woods are. And so it's really nice to know that these vibrations happen. And the Chinese have been using this system for over 2,000 years because it is so enlightening and helps us with compassion.
Yeah. Sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to identify, especially the secondary type. Maybe the primary, it's like, yes, that comes across instantly, almost instantly. But with the secondary, it's a little bit, I'm not too sure. I do identify a little bit with water, a little bit with metal, a little bit. So how do we find out? Like, how can we hone in to, our type? Like, is there a way to find out what exactly, which exactly we can identify most with?
Yes, so there are many ways to identify your element. One of the ways is to simply think about where you go when you are under stress. So everybody behaves a little bit differently when they get stressed out. And we can sit here and say, oh my gosh, I just get overwhelmed and I get angry and sad and upset, and then I try to hide it so no one will know I'm stressed. But think about, where do you really go? What is the main emotion? So each of the 5 elements has a main emotion that they default to under stress. And I'll go through them. So water, it's fear. Wood is anger. Fire is panic. Earth is worry. And metal is grief. So I'll speak about myself for a minute. I can for sure say I get overwhelmed under stress, and I'm just highly emotional. But then when I think about what is the lasting emotion that I have, for me, it's anger. When I start to really assess this stressful situation, I'm not feeling so sad or fearful anymore, or worried. I'm getting angry. I'm angry that this happened. I'm angry that she didn't do that. I'm angry at myself that I didn't do this. I'm angry that we allowed that to happen for so long. And I realize, oh, anger is the main emotion for me, which about where do I go under stress? And these are little stresses, big stresses, and then you can start to see parallels. Sure, most people in the world are scared of their child maybe going to school and encountering a shooter. We now have shooting drills in America in our schools. That is really scary. Anyone would be fearful of that, whether you're a parent or not. But what is the lasting emotion? For me, after the fear, I'm angry. I'm angry this has happened. I'm angry we don't have stronger gun laws in America. I'm angry that these shooting drills are happening to our children because they shouldn't be going through shooting drills.
Absolutely.
They should be gardening.
Yeah, so it's the emotion that sticks after the initial feelings that you have.
Yes, the emotion that sticks, or the emotion that bubbles up the strongest over the others. And you can start to really think about that. And I love the 5 elements, because in just thinking about that and exploring it and playing with it, it's a journey into knowing yourself better. For me, that is one of the ultimate benefits of the 5 elements. You get to know yourself so well. So that is one of the ways. Also, face shape, body shape, the way somebody walks, their voice. You can take a quiz. I have a quiz.
Yeah, I was going to say, you have a quiz on your website, learnthefiveelements.com, where you can actually find out your type.
Yes, and the quiz is a quick one. It's made for the internet where people don't have a lot of time. So it takes most people about 4 minutes to take, and you'll get both of your elements, your first and your secondary. Now, what I like to say about the online quiz is it's very successful. We have tested it with hundreds of people, and most of the time it comes out spot on. If somebody feels like, that's not really me, I got my result and that doesn't feel like me, explore that. Why is it? Why doesn't it feel like you? Are you in a phase right now? Sometimes when you're in a heavy phase in your life, for instance, let's talk about death. If somebody had someone recently die in their life, that is a metal phase. Metal is about letting go. That's one of the main lessons for a metal person. And in the cycle of the 5 elements, the metal is the very, very last one in the wheel. And another one of their lessons in life is knowing that death is okay, that death is a part of life, that we can transition and move on. And think about their main emotion, it's grief. So where do you go when you're experiencing death? You go into a deep grief. And this is a metal element emotion. So let's say you come along and you go to my website and you take the quiz and your result isn't exact. It may be because you're in a phase. Another phase is a fire phase. Fire phases are when you're in a a phase in life that is super joyful. Maybe you're on your honeymoon. Maybe you are
You're in love.
basking. Yes, in love, which is a whole nother level.
Yes, exactly.
Maybe you are just on cloud nine and you take the quiz and you're like, well, I'm not really a fire element though. Why does it say I'm a fire? Well, you might be in a fire phase. So those are some of the ways, and it's really, really fun to look around at people in your life and start being able to identify them from the face shape or the body shape or the tone of the voice or by what people say, because you'll start realizing, oh, woods really are fix-it people. They often say things like, oh, I just want to fix that. Or
Yeah.
can't we find a solution to this? Or I found a solution. Can we please put it into place?
Yeah.
That is woods. They're all about fixing, moving on, fixing, moving on, fixing, moving on.
And I would
So
imagine that it's super helpful in relationships of all kinds. Like if you find out what element your boss is or your significant other, your child, like you would get them so much better.
Yes, it is so helpful in relationships. I have had many, many people write me over the years and say this saved my marriage. When I figured out that my husband was a wood and I'm an earth, then I knew, oh, he really isn't yelling at me. He really isn't against me. That's just how woods speak. They speak a little bit louder. They speak a little bit more direct. They look you right in the eyes. And for an earth person who is more gentle, softer in their personality, that can feel really a little bit offensive, a little bit alarming to be talked to in such a direct way. And earths might feel like, oh my gosh, this person hates me, not realizing they're a wood. That's how they talk. It's not you. And you begin to not take it personally. Can I tell a quick story real fast?
Yeah, absolutely.
It'll be really short. So I have a friend who is an earth mom, and her son is a wood. And I think he's 18 or 19 now. But when he was younger, it was really hard for her. So earths are all about compassion. And if you have anything that's difficult that you need to talk about, you bring it in slowly, you talk about it over time. Maybe you don't even really talk about it at all. You sort of skirt the issue. You don't want to hurt anybody. So this was my friend, the earth mom, always wanting people to feel good. And her son came out as a wood, and he's saying things really abrupt to her. And he's like, no, mom, that was not a good turkey sandwich. I didn't like it. It didn't taste good. Can you make me another one? No, mom, I do not like that shirt you gave me for Christmas. And it freaked her out for a couple of years. So then she learns the 5 elements, and she's like, ding, 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 my son is a wood. Oh my gosh. And from that point on, she didn't take it personally anymore. And now she says she learns from him all the time. He learns from her because he could never understand why she wasn't just telling the truth. And he would say that to her, Mom, why don't you just tell the truth? And she said, well, I do tell the truth. I'm an honest person, but earths hide things a little bit more. Again, they don't want to hurt people. So they're tiptoeing. And now they understand each other. She always says, Dondi, I get that's just the way he rolls. And now they're best friends. So that's one of the ways the communication really up levels when you know the 5 elements. And you up level as a person and not taking others so personally, which is fantastic.
Thank you for sharing that. And I'm smiling because that's the same dynamic I have with my mom. She's an earth and I'm a wood. And it's like the same thing, you know, she finds me a bit too direct and a little bit, not very tactful in giving feedback. Let's just put it that way.
Right.
But yeah, and I was just smiling as you're saying it because that's the same dynamic. And I'm like, okay, I got to tell my mom about the 5 elements. And
Yes,
And
you
for everyone else
do.
listening, if you feel some sort of, gap in your communication, it's worth exploring how the elements are impacting your
Oh, it is
connection.
so worth it. My mom too. My mom is an earth, and thank goodness. I mean, she taught me the five elements. She knows
Yeah.
them through and through. And sometimes I'll say to her, I'll be really, I'll be myself with her, but then I'll hang up the phone and I'll realize, oh, I think I just came on really strong with my mom. I probably made her feel bad. I'll call her back. You may do this too with your mom, and I'll be
I
like,
do. I
Mom,
do. I'll notice
yes,
her sulking a little bit. I'm like, uh-oh.
right,
I'll go
yeah.
back and be like, what was the last conversation we had? Yeah.
Exactly. What was the last conversation? I'm sorry, Mom. At least my mom usually says, Dondi, I get it. You're a wood. Don't worry about it. I totally get it. So the five elements save relationships again and again and again.
Right. And it also helps with health, right? So,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. I would love to talk about the
Yes.
health for a moment.
Yes.
Great. So the health aspect of the five elements is just as important and just as big as the personality type system of it. So each element, water, wood, fire, earth, and metal, have certain organs in their body that we say they govern, or the organs govern them, meaning they have organs that probably come to the forefront in their life. So I'll give the examples. For waters, it is the kidneys and the bladder. So what does that mean? The kidneys and the bladder govern water element people. It just means that that is where their susceptibilities lie. It doesn't mean you can go through your whole life and never have a problem with your kidneys or your bladder, but it would make sense that you do, because these are the ones that are governing you. So you look to the kidneys and the bladder when you have health issues. If you went to a doctor of Western medicine with some health issue, they would ask you how you feel, they'd ask you what signs you've had, and then they would probably prescribe a medication for those ailments, whether it's a rash on your skin or your ears are hurting, they're going to give you a pill. In Eastern medicine, Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, a lot of the Eastern medicines, especially in Chinese medicine with the five elements, they're going to figure out what your element is first. They're going to take your pulse. They're going to look at the shape of your face. They're going to listen to you speak. They're going to have a conversation with you and hear how you word things. And they're going to assess what your element is. And then they're going to look directly at those organs first, because it will give them so many clues. So kidneys and bladder are water. For wood, it is the gallbladder and the liver. Now, just knowing that as a wood person, okay, gallbladder, liver, what do those do? They filter, they clean, they help with digestion. Oh, it's probably a really good idea to do a liver detox if you're a wood. Detoxes are usually good for all the elements, but especially if you're a wood, you're going to want to keep your liver and your gallbladder strong and clean, so to speak. So next is fire. Fire is the one that gets a few more organs or energy systems. So the heart, the pericardium, and the pericardium is that little sac that protects the heart. The triple warmer. Now, the triple warmer is an energy system in the body. And if people are watching and your guests are watching and they're thinking, what did she say? Triple warmer. It's an energy system that helps you with your temperature, with your stress levels. When somebody is under a great amount of stress, they go into fight, flight, or freeze, and their triple warmer energy system is way up here. So we talk about in energy medicine how to calm the triple warmer. When you calm the triple warmer, Your blood pressure is usually lower. You usually aren't sweating anymore. You usually aren't hyperventilating anymore. And there's very easy exercises to calm the triple warmer. And then the fourth one is the small intestine. So that's fire. And then we have earth, and stomach is one of the main organs of the earth, and also the spleen. And stomach, is all about digestion and getting the food to move through your body and release. And the stomach makes lots of decisions about what to digest and when to digest it. And if you think of this as a metaphor, this is also true with the earth element person. They're always digesting what people are saying, digesting decisions. There's a lot of indecision with earth elements, again, going back to not wanting to offend anyone or hurt people. So those are the organs. And then with metal, we have the lungs and the large intestine, otherwise known as the colon. And I said earlier that one of the main lessons in life for a metal is to let go. Well, what do the lungs and the large intestine do? Every single day, many times a day, the lung releases, the colon releases. It's all about taking the waste and letting it out, and taking the waste and letting it out. And so then you dig a little deeper and you find, wow, a lot of metal elements deal with constipation. Well, constipation can be a very emotional challenge in life that is showing up physical through constipation, that inability to let go, to move on, to go with the flow. So you start to really crack open the connection between the emotional, the mental, the physical, these organs. And again, you can look to these organs and prevent disease. Look to the organs. If you are a water, okay, kidneys and bladder, how can I strengthen those? Well, I know that I can take herbs to help them. I know that I can eat more foods, drink more beverages that help them. My bladder, I know that my bladder needs to fill up and let go, fill up and let go. I'm going to help it with lots of good, clean water. And so these are little clues in your life about what to eat and drink. And then when you get even deeper, you can build a whole diet around your element that will truly benefit your vibration. This isn't a one size fits all. This isn't that everybody should drink celery juice. No, maybe celery juice isn't good for some of the elements. So you look to what your element is and the foods that will be good for your body.
Do you just look at the primary, or do you look at like all two or three of them?
Yeah, you look at all of them eventually. At first, when you're entering the five elements and you know your primary element, it's easiest to just work with that. But yes, I'm a wood water, and my kidneys and bladder have just as much reign over my life as my gallbladder and my liver. And I know that, and I look to all four of those organs. I take herbs for all four. I take vitamins and minerals that will help all four. And I try to eat foods that will help all four organs. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for explaining that. And you said that there is a body type associated with each element as well, right?
Yes. So water body type, it's a little bit gushy, a little bit doughy. It doesn't mean that the water type is chubby. They don't have to be chubby or overweight, but they're just a little bit more pudgy. Like you look at them and you think, that would be nice to hug that person.
They're very curves.
Yes, curves, and they're very huggable. Also, when they walk, their weight is lower to the ground. They sort of shuffle along slowly. Waters do not have an urgency to get places. That's the wood type. Waters sort of meander along, shuffling along like they're in sand or the snow. And again, their body type is a little bit more huggable, and their face is usually quite round. You can see it in my cheeks. That's where my water comes forward. Now, wood is really what I am very, very strongly in life, a wood element, but I got a lot of my secondary traits in my body type. I have a little belly. I have hips. I have breasts that developed early and they're bigger. I have rounder cheeks. These are all very water element. A wood element, if you saw wood, they're a little bit more squared off, broader shoulders, more squared off jawline, maybe
Sounds
their
very
eyebrows.
masculine, more masculine.
Yes, it is a
Yeah.
little bit more masculine. The
Yeah.
very strong wood women that I know are more flat chested, don't have an hourglass figure. Yeah, they're a little bit more square and masculine. Exactly. Their voices are often a little bit deeper. You can hear this wood element and more of a bass sound coming through, and their walk is urgent. They are marching, they are picking up their feet, and they are going places. So the fire element, fires are interesting because they often have a quicker metabolism. And so it keeps them a little bit more lean. You will see fires, even if they aren't tall and lean and athletic, they sort of look tall and lean and athletic. There's just not as much fat on their bones. And my mom and I often joke that fires have fire thighs. Their thighs stay very thin. I think it's the metabolism. Their faces are bright and rosy cheeks, bright eyes, sparkle in the eyes. Fires often have blonde hair or red hair, curly hair. Not always, but oftentimes.
I mean, it depends which culture or their ethnicity, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you have to look to cultures. Where was I raised? How was I raised? What is my bloodline? So it's not just the elements, but the elements can often give you a clue. And also different countries are different elements. So they have more of one element in them. So the fire type, their voice is very sing-songy. Hi, how you doing? Oh, it's so good to see you. That type of thing. Very up and down and up and down. An earth type is similar to a water type where their body might be a little bit more round, a little bit more curvy. They have a very sweet sound. It usually sounds like they're talking to somebody.
Like Snow White?
Yes, like Snow White. Yes, like Snow White, talking to kids. And their face shape is similar to water's, a little bit rounder, and they're very pleasant. It's a very pleasant look on their face. Again, they're wanting people to feel good. And then metal is usually tall and thin, long limbs, sort of lanky. Maybe if they aren't so tall, they're looking kind of stretched out, longer torso, longer legs, everything's a little bit seemingly stretched out, longer faces. The metal type usually has a longer face, and their style of speaking is usually not so loud. They're usually sounding like they're whispering. Going back to them really loving silence. I think this comes through in their voice. So those are some of the ways you can identify the 5 elements just from the way they look.
Very interesting. And can we talk a little bit more about culture and your national origin and how that impacts your element? So where are we born with a certain element that is fundamental to our personality? And how does
Yes, we
that
are.
interact with our culture and where we grew up?
So it's really fascinating and also complex to start looking at how someone was raised. So the Chinese believe that everybody is born in to their elements and their elements stay for life. You can absolutely develop your other elements, and that's oftentimes a goal with people. They want to develop all five, which will only make you a more balanced person. But let's say you are a fire element, so you're loud and you're happy and you're joyous and you're having so much fun in life and as a little kid, but you're born into a culture where children don't speak until they're spoken to, or they're told to be quiet, or they're told to not act that way. And they're looked at like they have ADHD or something wrong with them. This can be a real clash with the element because their natural element, I mean, fires, you do think they have ADHD because they're seeing all the shiny objects and everything grabs their attention. There is no element that lives more in the present moment than fires. They've got that one down. They live in the present moment and they're talking to you, but then a bird flies by and it's a beautiful bird. And oh, look at that flower on that tree. And that's a beautiful flower. But my cat just walked in and now my cat needs my attention. They're very, very in the moment. But in some cultures, a fire element definitely is not going to be revered or honored. Many places throughout the Middle East, a woman cannot speak up and be joyful and start singing and living in the moment. She has to be quiet. So the wood element in America, the United States of America, is a wood country. We still believe we're number one. We still believe we're the best. We still believe we're the biggest. We still believe that we don't need to listen to other countries because
I actually thought they would be fire. That's interesting.
There's a lot of fire too. There is a
Yeah.
lot of fire. And it also depends on the states.
Right.
It just
Yeah.
depends on
It's
the
a huge
Midwest.
country, so
Yes, you and I were talking earlier about how
Mhm.
different the Midwest is than
It
California
is.
or New York.
Mhm.
But as a whole, it's a very, very wood vibe. Well, an earth element isn't going to do so well in that wood vibe. So it absolutely depends. In our family, we love astrology, so we bring astrology in. We look at people's upbringings. We look at the five elements for sure. We talk about the five elements every single day in our family. So it's starting to combine the different aspects of life and how that makes you a really whole person.
Wow, this has been so fascinating. That brings us to the end of our conversation, but I'm sure our listeners have absolutely loved listening to you, and I'm sure all of them are going to go right now and take that quiz, just wanting to know more about their element and, you know, what it says about them and the different aspects of their lives. So again, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with all of us.
Well, you are so welcome. Do take the quiz. It's at learnthefiveelements.com, and you'll learn so much about yourself. Keep exploring. And thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, of course. And you'll also find information about Dondi's book, The Five Elements, on the same website, right?
Yes, the book is there. It's the five elements. It's a pretty easy read, and you can flip through it. You don't have to read from the front to the back. You can go through and pick out different parts. And there's also longer quizzes in the book that are a little bit more comprehensive that you can really sit with.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's a really transformative learning about your type. So I highly recommend that you go and check it out.
Thank you so much.
All right, Dondi, I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day.
Thank you, you as well, and thank you, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.